Okay. I don't know if the stream started, but today ETB, which is known as Escape the Backrooms. And this game got really popular by a YouTuber, shout out to them, called Fancy. If you don't know who he is, you gotta look him up on YouTube. Here. Fancy. Just search up Fancy. This guy right here. He made this game called Escape the Backrooms. I'm pausing it.
Front rooms such as...
I'm pausing it. Okay. So he hasn't posted in a long time. That's because he posts like every month or so. And he is popular about mini games. Like this game. He even made Wordle. I'm supposing he made Wordle. Yeah, so he made this game called Wordle. It's a very popular game. Many YouTubers actually make videos on it. Even YouTubers bigger than him, which is really crazy. Like, if I search up mini text inspire Wordle, like this guy right here. Well,
hello everyone. It is Sunday, October the 8th, 2020.
Even Sambucha played it.
If you're watching this video, then you probably know what Wordle is. It's a web-based puzzle game in which you have 6 attempts.
6 million subscribers, guys. So 6 million subscribers, even bigger than, well, there's many Wordle games. He made one which got about 3 million. Yeah. This is a 2021 game. So, he also made this game. His oldest video was a year ago. He added things like wretches and all these people are live right now, which are crazy. I can't believe he's live. Like on here? Okay. So enough about talking about this guy. So, again, his email, he shares it. I don't have to blur it out. You can see this on his about page. If you don't see it, then you're probably on mobile. Maybe, I don't know. He has a Discord. So anyways, let's get back to the game. This game is about $10. So if you see a game like cheaper, then it's probably a copy. And what I mean by about $10, I mean 9 cents and I mean $9.99. I'm streaming right now, bro. Oh wait, it actually lets me. This is my Steam account. Friend it if you want. 2011. Wow. Okay. Hold on, let me just log into this account. Alright, I'll be right back. Hold on. It doesn't say your email because, of course, no private information shared. Okay, hold on. I'll be right back. Could have opened the notes. Alright, that should be good. I'm not listening to the chat. I don't even see the chat. So, if someone's in the chat right there, I don't really know what to do. Oh, probably their fault. Yeah. It's their fault. Okay, I'll be right back. If you're in the stream, stay here, because it'll only take like a matter of seconds until I'm out. I gotta just do some click. I'll do something real quick. Okay, I'm back. I'm blurring the code out. I'm blurring the code out. Hold on. Wait, nobody knows my password. Weird. Okay. So, in the hole. bing jolling bum bum. Decoy a bing jolling. Honey, a big challenge. Dum, dum, dum. And Please. Don't talk to me. Okay, so I ripped Figure's leg off. It looks like he couldn't survive with that one. Don't you need it? Don't even I'm dreamy like I'm on you. city. The obsidian. Halloween trophy is awarded to the people that won first place on a race on Halloween. You can only use pumpkins, obsidian, things that are included in holidays.
They open like regular doors. You see, supercars are so expensive that they use upward opening doors to protect them from hitting other cars. If this rabbit is cute, like and subscribe. Have you ever wondered why supercar doors move upwards? Like, why don't they open like regular doors? You see, supercars are so expensive that they use upward opening doors to protect them from hitting other cars. If this rabbit is cute, like and subscribe. Have you ever wondered why supercar doors move upwards? Like, why don't they open like regular doors? You see, supercars are so expensive that they use upward opening doors to protect them from hitting other cars. If this rabbit is cute, like and subscribe. Have you ever so good about cheese? You see, rats don't actually like cheese. In fact, they hate its smell, but they will settle for it if there is nothing else to eat. If you like cheese, like and subscribe. Have you ever wondered why rats like cheese? Like, what's so good about cheese? You see, rats don't actually like cheese. In fact, they hate its smell, but they will settle for it if there is nothing else to eat. If you like cheese, like and subscribe. Have you ever wondered why rats like cheese? Like, what's so good about cheese? You see, rats don't actually like cheese. In fact, they hate its smell, but they will settle for it if there is nothing else to eat. If you like cheese, have you ever wondered why grenades have grooves in them? Like, why not make them smooth? You see, grooves are the weak areas in a grenade, so when it explodes, those grooves help it break evenly instead of breaking in half. If you enjoy ramen, like and subscribe. Have you ever wondered why Have you ever wondered why chicks are born yellow? Like, why do they become white as they grow? You see, when the chick is inside the egg, some of the yolk stains its feathers, and as it grows, this stain gradually goes away. If this chick is cute, like and subscribe. Have you ever Have you ever wondered why the color blue is so rare in nature? Like, why aren't there blue tigers, rabbits, or even lions? You see, animals with the color blue are not actually blue. Like, they don't have the blue pigment. Instead, they have structures that bend light to make it look blue. If this puppy is cute, like and subscribe. Have you ever wondered why the color blue is so rare in nature? Like, why aren't there blue tigers, rabbit? Have you ever wondered why flies get stuck on their way out? Like, why don't they go through the open window? You see, flies use light as a guide, and because the window is transparent, they keep flying to the light source again and again, thinking it's the way out. If you hate cockroaches, like and subscribe. Have you ever wondered why supercar doors move upwards? Like, why don't they open like regular doors? You see, supercars are so expensive that they use upward opening doors to protect them from hitting other cars. If this rabbit is cute, like and subscribe. Have you ever wondered why yellow watermelons are yellow? Believe it or not, yellow watermelons came before red watermelons, and the reason they are yellow is because they don't have a chemical called lycopene. If you enjoy watermelon, like and subscribe. Have you ever wondered why yellow watermelons are yellow? Have you ever wondered why do monkeys like bananas? Like, what's so good about banana? Have you ever wondered why yellow watermelons are yellow? Believe it or not, have you ever wondered why do monkeys like bananas? Like, what's so good about bananas? You see, monkeys don't exclusively eat bananas. Instead, they are often depicted eating bananas because they live in tropical forests. If this puppy is cute, like and subscribe. Have you ever wondered why the ocean glows? Like, are they having a party there? You see, sometimes certain types of planktons bloom, creating a glowing effect. If you like SpongeBob, like and subscribe. Have you ever wondered why the ocean glows? Like, are they having a party there? You see, sometimes certain types of planktons bloom, creating a glowing effect. This tree is bleeding, but why? You see, bloodwood trees contain a chemical called tannins, which is red. When the tree is damaged, this chemical mixes with water, giving it the appearance of bleeding. If you enjoy burgers, like and subscribe. This Have you ever wondered why mixing Coke with Mentos makes it explode? Like, what does Mentos have to do with explosions? You see, Mentos contains a catalyst. This catalyst speeds up the reaction, causing the Coke to explode. If this monkey is cute, like and subscribe. Have you ever wondered what boba is made of? Like, what are you putting in your mouth? You see, boba is made of tapioca starch. extracted from the cassava root. If you enjoy pizza, like and subscribe. Have you ever wondered what boba is made of? Like, what are you putting in your mouth? You see, boba is made of Have you ever wondered why giraffes have a purple tongue? You see, the tongue of a giraffe is exposed to the sun, so to protect it from ultraviolet rays, they have a dark pigment. This pigment gives their tongue a purple color. If you like chocolate, have you ever wondered why giraffes have a purple tongue? You see, the tongue of a giraffe is exposed to the sun, so to protect it from ultraviolet rays, they have a dark pigment. This pigment gives their tongue a purple. Have you ever wondered why fancy food portions are so small? Like, how are they supposed to fill your stomach? You see, when you have a large amount of something, you will not care about the small portions. But when you have a tiny amount, you would focus on every single bit of it. If you enjoy ice cream, like and subscribe. Have you ever wondered why baguettes are so long? You see, Napoleon wanted an easier way to provide bread for his soldiers, so he made it longer to make it easier to slide into the soldiers' uniforms. If this kitty is cute, like and subscribe. Have you ever wondered why balloons pop? You see, the high-pressure air that was inside the balloon. Have you ever wondered why ants like sugar? It's not as if they have a sweet tooth, right? You see, sugar is the edible equivalent of energy, and ants love energy. If this puppy is cute, like ants, have you ever wondered why are there mosquitoes? What's so good about those annoying creatures? You see, only female mosquitoes feed on blood, but for males, they play a really important role in pollinating plants. If you hate mosquitoes buzzing, like and subscribe. Have you ever wondered why are there Have you ever wondered why grenades have
The Dead Sea is the perfect place if you don't know how to swim. Yes and no. Let me tell you why. Because the Dead Sea is made up of 34% salt, you instantly float when you get into the water. But just because the water forces you to float, it doesn't mean you can't drown. Sadly, there has been a few reports of people getting flipped over by strong winds, swept away, and swallowing salt water. Now, obviously, this isn't very likely, but if you do manage to get some salt water in your eyes or you dunk your head under, it is going to sting. It's called the Dead Sea for a reason and only splash the friends you made. The Dead Sea. Hey girl, what is happening over there? My grandma
Doctor, I can't tell if I know me.
So these
Metal.
prints are from JLCPCB.com. So many materials to choose from. Just drag in your 3D file and get your print in a week. And metal wins. You know what's even better than a pumpkinhead octopus? A pumpkinhead cat.
The dynamic face.
I have 4 moods. Silly, inky,
The Dead Sea is the perfect place if you don't know how to swim. Yes and no.
Boys, is this Freddy Fazbear?
play this game, and they're just always terrible at it. So I'm gonna download it for myself and see if it's as hard as they make it look. Whoa, okay, I might have spoke too soon. Guys, this is really hard. No wonder I always see people failing at this. This game is called Going Balls, and you have to get the ball from one end of the track to the other without falling it off. And it may look simple, but I'm convinced that only experts can beat this. Deal.
How difficult is 3D?
This is 1D drawing, this is 2D drawing, and this is 3D drawing. And it looks literally impossible to do. I've tried it many times, and I've always given up. Until today, because I found 2 steps that will allow anyone to get there. I'm gonna master 3D drawing today. Step 1 out of 2. Perspective. If we wanna learn 3D drawing, we gotta understand how to use perspective. And to achieve that, I wanna try to draw the most famous 3D drawing ever. I wanna draw a 3D letter. Step number 1, folding the paper in half. You see why later. Step 2, we're gonna draw the shadows using this color right here. You simply draw 2 parallel lines slightly on the side. Step 3, we're gonna draw the actual letter using this black marker. You're probably asking yourself like, what? Why? You see what I mean in a minute, I swear. Now for step 4. I'm gonna draw all the steps of the letter. In the past, I always messed up this part because I couldn't draw the lines symmetrically. But this time, I was gonna try to be as precise as possible. It wasn't perfect, but I was confident, okay? Now, final step, I'm gonna draw all the shadows for the steps of the letter. The secret here is that you gotta line up each shadow with a step. If there are too many shadows or not enough, it's not gonna work. I wasn't sure if this was good enough, but I kept going anyways. And believe it or not, the drawing was actually done. We're gonna find out if I did a nice job or not. Maybe you're starting to see the trick here, but if not, I swear it's gonna blow your mind. Remember, this step is all about perspective. So by bending the paper like this and changing the angle, I got a huge surprise. No way you think it actually worked! Okay, so it wasn't perfect, and I knew I could do better. So I tried again using a ruler, and it turned out even better. After this letter, I think I got it. Perspective in a 3D drawing doesn't really work like in a 2D one. It only works if you look at the drawing from the right angle. Having completed step 1, I wanted to draw the M once again, which was lucky because somebody had broken the first one. What I'm gonna try to do right now is to draw this M once again, but remembering to look at the drawing from the right angle and not from the front. We can do this! Let's do it! When I try to draw this beautiful letter, I have a huge announcement to make. I spent the past
This teacher thought education was boring, so he did something crazy. He built his own school where all students dance, sing, and go on slides. This may be the least boring school you'll see in America. Who is this teacher, and why did he build this school in America? In Atlanta, USA, I found Ron.
Hey Nas Daily, what's up? I'm Ron Clark, and I built a school where learning is magical.
25 years ago, Ron took up a job as a school teacher in a low-wealth area. And on his first day, his students made him understand that they were not interested.
My students were bored. They didn't want to learn. They didn't want to learn out of a textbook. And I realized that if my students were bored, they weren't going to become lifelong learners. So I knew I had to do something. I had to find a way to fire it up.
So one day, Ron came to class and decided to do something different. He put away the old textbooks and started singing.
1914 to 1918, World War II.
There was this popular song at the time called the Thong Song, inappropriate, and I said, I'm gonna change the words of this song to geography. And it was like, geography is so good to us, we practice and we learn so much. We study that map from front to back, get on the ball, now don't be slack. We like to learn about a lot of places that are cool and hot. We study every single spot from Spain to South Dakota, and then we went and we would plot our maps. And the students loved it, said, oh, this is so cool. And so I made myself look kind of foolish to do it, but when you're a teacher or a parent, you gotta be willing to sacrifice all of your humility and every bit of who you are to do what's best for kids. And if you do that, they're gonna thrive, they're gonna try their best, they're gonna learn.
His class went from boring to a Broadway show. Every day was a different performance, and just like that, his students went from hating school to loving it.
Teachers have got to be better than video games. Look, these kids, they got their iPhones, they're all playing all kinds of technology. These students are doing so many different things, so you got to really be on, you got to bring it to life, and if you don't, the kids aren't going to learn.
And he thought if he could change a class, then he could change an entire school. So, he built his own. Ron went to Atlanta, found an empty warehouse, and started his school.
During the first 6 months of opening our school, we were robbed 16 times, but we knew we couldn't give up. We knew we had to keep pushing. We knew we had to make the dream come to reality.
And after 4 years, the Ron Clark Academy was born.
Welcome to the Ron Clark Academy!
Here, kids learn like nowhere else in the world. They learn by dancing and singing. They have houses like in Harry Potter. And during recess, they can hang out with dragons.
Our slides are very important to us. They're very symbolic because we say, don't take the stairs like everyone else. Don't take the safe path. Take the slide. Don't be afraid to take a path that no one else has ever thought of before. That kind of symbolizes what we do here at RCA, and that is how we want our students to live their lives.
Don't get me wrong, students still have books and exams, and the school is actually one of the most challenging schools in the world. But because Ron has made school a place of joy, excitement, and magic, he knows he can expect his students to reach the sky. And they do, because 95% of the students have gone to college. Some of them even made it to an Ivy League school.
I think as a teacher, it's important to make every child feel like they can conquer the world. I tell my staff, I said, look, at our school, we got a kid here that's going to be the future president of the United States of America. Now, I don't know which one it is, so we best prepare all of them. We want them to be compassionate, knowledgeable. We want them to have a cultural understanding of the world and appreciation of other religions. We want to raise kids who could be the leader of the free world. And if you think, I don't know which one it's going to be, let me prepare all of them that way, you begin to see potential in children, and then they'll begin to see it in themselves.
This teacher is a living proof that education doesn't have to be boring. With the right attitude, education can be fun and magical. Hey YouTube, did you love that video? I hope you did, because now we are in a 30-day video marathon. Every single day, for 30 days, we are uploading one video from around the world about an interesting person. We are flying to remote countries, to here, and to here, just to show you interesting story. So please subscribe to this channel, subscribe to Nas Daily, and follow us, because tomorrow there will be another amazing video somewhere from around the world. Thank you so much, and see you tomorrow. In the middle of the desert, there is a lake that looks like it was made by aliens. It's huge, it's symmetric, and it has a very weird shape. What is this lake? Who built it? And why does it look like this? 1 year ago, I opened my laptop and saw this image. We all thought it was Photoshop. Is this a real thing?
I mean, it looks kind of Photoshopped.
Yeah, I wonder if it's Photoshopped or not. Like, look at this. This is crazy.
Okay, that's definitely Photoshopped.
But turns out it was not Photoshop. It was a real new lake created in secret in Dubai. And we were 1 hour away from it. So we immediately got in a car. Let's go! And drove to the middle of the desert. We drove and drove and drove. Very, very similar to the one we saw on the internet. We're in the right direction. We knew we were on the right track, so we continued until we arrived here. This is the Expo Lake. It was built this year as a welcome sign to tourists. They cut out a hole in the desert, planted trees around it, and filled it with water. Lots and lots of water.
We are walking on top of water.
I'm walking on water.
But what's even more interesting than the lake is the shape of it. This shape is so symmetrical, it looks like an alien came up with it. Turns out it was not an alien or a design agency. It was a human who came up with this shape 4,000 years ago. This is a true story. 4,000 years ago, in the United Arab Emirates, someone created a beautiful ring, maybe for a wedding, maybe for a gift. And that ring stayed hidden in the desert, specifically here, for thousands of years. Until one day, the local people discovered this area and found the ring. It became the first ever jewelry discovered in the entire country. It is evidence that this is where people designed, traded, loved, and lived. And you can see that evidence everywhere you go. In fact, there is so much hiding under the desert right now that only 10 to 20% of the area was discovered. The remaining 80% is still hiding here under the sand. Now, this ring from the past is a symbol of the future. They say history repeats itself. And as we look at this beautiful design, these words couldn't be any more true.
Money. There are only two ways to make money, right? Doctor or engineer? Wrong. Our parents make us believe that it's difficult to make money unless you do what everybody else is doing. Well, send this video to your parents because I found 3 people that are making money, lots of money, in the most unique way possible in the world. And trust me, some of them will blow your mind away. In New York, there is a guy who makes thousands of dollars a month just by standing in line. I kid you not, he is a professional line sitter.
If you have to wait in line to get it, we'll do it. That's our slogan. We wait for your wants.
And for the first time ever, I want to show you how his business works. In New York, I introduce you to Robert.
Hey Nas Daily, I'm Robert Samuel, and I wait in lines for a living.
8 years ago, Robert was unemployed and really needed some money. But one day, he saw something weird. He saw rich people waiting in line on the street outside of an Apple store, waiting to get the newest iPhone. So Robert saw an opportunity. He offered one guy to stand in line for him for $350, and the rich guy said yes.
The first product we stood in line for was the iPhone 5 back in 2012.
This was the easiest money Robert has ever made in his life. So the next day, he did the same thing.
Once I waited in line for someone else's phone and made enough to buy my own phone, I figured it had potential to earn money.
So he figured, why stop there? Why not make it a full-time job and start a real business out of sitting in line?
If you have to wait in line to get it, we'll do it. That's our slogan. We wait for your wants.
Turns out that for a lot of items that we like iPhones, Star Wars tickets, PS5, if you want to be one of the first to get them, you have to stand in line for tens of hours, if not days. Just take a look, that's crazy. People even bring their tents to camp and sleep on the street.
People wait in line for their iPhone for so long because it's like fear of missing out, FOMO. They gotta have the latest and the greatest, and they wanna have bragging rights.
To save people time and money, Robert hired his friends and started a company called Same Old Line Dudes. where people wait in line for them as a service.
We advertise our business 3 ways mostly. By giving out business cards to people in lines with us, by using a banner on the sidewalk, and even once we leave, we do chalk advertisements so people can see that they don't have to wait next time they're in line.
Getting a line sitter will cost you about $20 an hour. And of course, if it rains or snows, or if it's super far, you'll have to pay extra.
The longest we waited in line actually was 4 days for Hamilton Broadway tickets. We even had people swapping out and switching shifts.
To Robert's surprise, everybody wanted to use his service, and not just for iPhones. They also use it for shoes, cakes, restaurants, and even government applications. The best thing about this job is that everyone can wait in line, even grandmas. As long as you can stand, you can be hired.
We have all kinds of people that work for our company, from stay-at-home moms to college students to seniors to veterans. It really runs the gamut.
I am convinced there is no such thing as a bad business idea. You can build a business even from waiting in line. This man can solve a Rubik's Cube, but he can also make art with hundreds of Rubik's Cube. He can paint masterpieces. We've all seen this stuff on the internet, but for the first time ever, I want to take you behind the scenes. How does he do it? Why does he do it? And how much work and how many hours does it take to make this? Hint: a lot. In Pizzarro, Italy, I found Giovanni.
Hi Nas Daily, my name is Giovanni and I'm a full-time Rubik's Cube artist.
When he was 15, Giovanni was just an ordinary student. When one day a friend showed him this.
My story starts in 2009 when I first learned how to solve a Rubik's Cube. A friend of mine brought it at school and showed me how to do it, and since then I fell in love with the cube.
So Giovanni fell in love with this puzzle, and he decided to solve it really fast. Like, really, really fast.
I can solve a Rubik's Cube in under 10 seconds.
10 seconds, no way, show us.
Go.
That is crazy. But then he got bored.
Once you can solve it under 10 seconds, it takes many, many months to gain just a few milliseconds. And after a while, it can be a little bit boring. So I decided to do something special instead.
So instead of solving one Rubik's Cube where all the sides look the same, he decided to mix hundreds of cubes up until they connect and become art, like this and this. It is much harder than it looks.
One funny thing that most people don't know is that once it is glued and framed, it's actually very, very heavy.
Each portrait costs hundreds of Rubik's Cubes and thousands of dollars. One bad cube can ruin an entire picture. And making these portraits can cost a lot of time. Giovanni needs at least 12 days to make them. He first draws the portrait on his computer. He twists all the Rubik's Cubes to recreate the portrait and finally puts them on a huge frame. Sometimes his portraits even need more than 6,000 cubes.
This is my portrait of Audrey Hepburn. It took me from design to mosaic around 12 days to make it, and it's made using 725 Rubik's Cubes.
Soon enough, pictures of his work went on social media and instantly became a hit. And many celebrities wanted to get their portraits done by him.
I could never imagine that I could make a living selling my Rubik's Cube art.
His art got so famous that people like Will Smith and The Rock started reposting his work. And today, getting your portrait from Giovanni can cost you thousands of dollars. This master of Rubik's Cubes can solve not just one cube, but thousands of them at a time. And that's why he is the master of his craft. This guy is jumping up and down, not in a playground, but in a kitchen. And he's not playing. He is making noodles. Yes, these noodles. Who is he? And why is he using his butt to make noodles? And how does noodle made from a butt taste like? In the city of Hong Kong, the kingdom of food, I found Marco.
Hello, Nest Daily. 大家好，我係 Marco， 我係竹升麵大師。
The tradition of bouncing noodles actually came from Marco's family's homeland in China.
由我太爺傳到俾我爸爸，咁由我爸爸再傳承俾我嘅。
So his family took the recipe and moved to Hong Kong, where for generations they have been making noodles unlike any other place on earth. First, they go to this tiny room and take a thick slab of dough. Then they take a huge bamboo stick, attach the stick on top, hop on it, and start bouncing again and again, up and down, left and right, for hours and hours until the dough is super strong and super flat. Why?
其實呢個做麵嘅竹升做麵嘅方法咧，最主要就令到個麵更加爽口彈牙啦，同埋我哋嘅賣點就係可以處理走咗佢嘅鹼水味。
They do this process for every noodle that they serve. And out of the bouncing noodles, they can make meals like this and this and this.
咁呢一個竹升做麵嘅方法咧，其實都日復日比較繁複啦，同埋比較悶嘅。咁所以喺出邊好多麵鋪咧都取而代之，淨係用機器咧就取代咗呢個步驟就算㗎啦。
It might look fun, but in fact, sitting on this heavy bamboo pole for hours is super hard, harder than going to the gym.
咁其實呢一個做麵嘅方法咧，每一次咧都令到我好攰嘅呢個竹升韌麵呢個步驟，大概好似跑完馬拉松咁樣啦。咁另外都如果即係韌耐咗咧，都會令到 pat pat 會螺旋嘅其實。
Until then, you will find Marco here in his little shop in Hong Kong, bouncing away to make noodles. In fact, bouncing noodles is a dying art. Hardly anyone does it anymore because of how tough it is. But at the end of the day, Marco believes it's all worth it. And so do his dozens of customers. Chefs like Marco stick to the traditional way of making food, not for money or fame, but simply for passion. I found him! I finally found him! He's the guy who started Wikipedia, and I am in his house.
Hi, Nas Daily. Welcome to my house. My name is Jimmy Wales.
I flew all the way to London just to meet Jimmy and understand why did he make Wikipedia free and why did he give away billions of dollars? This is his incredible story. Since he was a kid, Jimmy loved learning. His mom bought him big physical encyclopedia books just to read them. But no matter how big the book was, it always had missing information.
Every year, this book had to be updated with new information, and that's simply not practical.
20 years later, the internet was invented, and Jimmy had an idea.
What if we could put all the world's knowledge on the internet?
Back then, this was a revolutionary idea. He called it
Wikipedia.
What does Wikipedia mean?
So wiki is from a Hawaiian word, wiki, which means quick, and the idea is quick collaboration. And we adapted that concept to say, let's make an encyclopedia, so hence the name Wikipedia.
Wikipedia was a for-profit company. The idea was to write articles, sell ads, and use the money to pay editors, and maybe make a bit of money.
But this is where it gets interesting. At some point, he made the decision to make Wikipedia 100% free. Who does that?
Me.
No more ads, no monthly subscription, no revenue, no profit, just free knowledge.
Making Wikipedia free was the best decision of my life.
The minute he made it free, editors from around the world came together to contribute and put all human knowledge in one website. They fact-checked each other, and together they wrote more than 50 million articles in 300 languages, all for free.
That's like 1 million of these books in a website.
If he charged $10 a month for Wikipedia, a kid in Mexico can't afford it. If he put ads, every article will have 20 companies trying to sell you something. But he didn't do that.
Wikipedia is 100% funded by donations, largely small donations. Fewer than 1% of the users donate, but that's enough.
Wikipedia became the 6th largest website in the world, worth billions of dollars. Jimmy could have been a billionaire, but he gave all of that away.
You know, I live here in London. The number of bankers in this town who make far more money than I ever will is enormous, and their lives must be incredibly boring. But I get to go anywhere in the world. I meet world leaders. I do whatever I like. It's fantastic.
Every single person watching this video has used Wikipedia.
From a kid in Malaysia to a retired soldier in Wisconsin, Nas Daily exists because of Wikipedia. The world changed because of Wikipedia. We owe so much to Wikipedia. And the person that started all of this is just a simple guy living in London called Jimmy. This guy owns the color red. Yes, it's possible to own a color. Kind of. He is the reason behind the red iPhone, and he is angry. Let me introduce you to Bobby the Red Guy.
Hi, Nas Daily. My name is Bobby, and I'm angry.
Bobby is angry because 20 years ago, he learned that some people die because they don't have 40 cents to buy medicine. 40 cents is why people lose their life.
I got so angry about world health injustice that I decided to do something about it.
Bobby did not want to raise donations or ask for charity. Instead, he came up with a genius idea. Make products with the color red. And any person who buys a red product, the money goes to charity.
We convinced companies to partner with us. The products have the same technology. The main difference is the color red. And that's the way you know that a portion of your proceeds go to help poor people get their medicine.
After tens of no's, a few companies said yes to his crazy idea. Apple built a red iPhone. Vispa built a red scooter. And Bank of America made a red Super Bowl commercial.
Some of the top brands we partner with include Apple, Converse, this is the Gap hoodie, obviously, Armani watches, which are fun.
Now, anybody who bought a red iPhone, part of their money will go to charity because of Bobby's idea. Bobby and his team worked for 17 years and raised $700 million for the Global Fund to treat HIV and AIDS, to hire nurses, to buy drugs, to educate, to give grants, and save more than 245 million lives. All of this from one color.
Amazingly, red became the most successful cause-related movement ever.
Imagine how much they can help when they get the color green, yellow, purple, and blue. Bobby was angry that people died for not having 40 cents for medicine and built a global red movement to help others. So now ask yourself, what are you angry about? And what are you gonna do about it?
This woman has studied animals for 60 years, and she can speak like them.
Hello, Nurse Daily. I'm Jane Goodall. I'm 88 years old, and I have always loved animals.
She has studied animals longer than any person in the world, and today I'm going to tell you her incredible story. 60 years ago, Dr. Jane did something crazy. She spent a month traveling by boat from England to Africa. She lived in a tent in the jungle all by herself, just so she could study these.
Chimpanzees are our closest relatives, and so finding out about them helps us understand human evolution.
She discovered that humans and chimpanzees are very similar. They cry, fight, hug, and kiss just like humans. They use tools, and they even have their own language. Dr. Jane became so close to the chimpanzees that they accepted her as family.
And I was following him. He was allowing me to follow him. So I sat down near him. On the ground between us was a ripe red palm nut, which chimpanzees love. So I picked it up and held it out towards him. He turned his face away. I moved my hand closer. He turned, he looked directly into my eyes. He reached out, didn't want the nut, dropped it, very gently squeezed my fingers, which is how chimpanzees reassure each other. So in that moment, we understood each other perfectly.
Nearly 40 years after she first went to the forest, science finally discovered that human DNA and chimpanzee DNA were nearly identical. Yes, 99% of our DNA is the same as chimpanzees. Dr. Jane won tons of awards for her discoveries, until one day she saw a big problem. The chimpanzees were dying. The chimpanzee population went from 1 million to just 300,000. The chimps' forest homes were being destroyed. Chimpanzees were being stolen and sold as pets, and they were being locked up in cages for medical testing. This broke her heart, so she left the forest to become an activist. She started 2 foundations that are now saving chimpanzees, protecting forests, and teaching youth about how to protect animals, people, and the environment.
In 7 African countries, chimps are living who would not have been there if we hadn't arrived. And in order for this to be successful in the long run, we have to work with the young people.
Dr. Jane is incredible. She spent 60 years of her life living with animals, and what she learned from a tent in the jungle has changed the science community forever. And this is her message to the world.
Every individual matters, has a role to play, and that every individual makes an impact every day. So if we choose wisely, then we're really working together to make a better world for the future.
There's not much difference between humans and animals. So if we care so much about humankind, why not care about animals too?
This mother raised 65 kids, and she is just 36 years old. Who is she, and how is this even possible? For the first time ever, I am proud to present the incredible story of Maggie.
Hi, Nurse Daily. My name is Maggie Doyne.
When Maggie was just 18, she was backpacking through Nepal when this happened.
I saw a young girl by a river who should have been in school, but instead of reading books, she was breaking rocks to earn a living.
In Nepal, breaking rocks is a way to earn extra money, and this broke Maggie's heart. So she decided to do something about it.
I called my parents and asked them to send me all of the money that I had in my savings. It was money I had earned from babysitting, and then I paid for her to go to school.
Her money put one kid in school, but that was not enough. Soon she realized kids need school and a home.
Every year there are thousands of children in Nepal who end up without family or a place to call home. And when we saw the conditions that children were living in, we knew we had to do something.
So she adopted kids in her home. One kid after another after another. And 17 years later, Maggie adopted more than 65 kids in her own home. 65 kids that you can see that need food, water, shelter, education, and attention every single day, and she provides them with all of that.
I definitely did not raise all of these kids on my own. I've had a lot of help from day one.
Hi, I am Maggie, and I have been a team for 17 years.
None of this would be possible without Taupe, our local community, and our entire parenting team.
And she didn't stop there. She spent more money to build a local school, health clinic, and a community center right in the heart of Nepal. Her work energized everyone around her. Aunties and uncles and neighbors all came to help.
Pity is not the answer. Investment is. Investment in time, investment in energy, investment in communities, and in people.
Maggie could have just donated a bunch of money, took a bunch of selfies, put them on social media, and moved on. But she didn't. What started off as a backpacking trip is now a full foundation called Blink Now that touched more than 50,000 lives. People like Maggie are the reason humanity is beautiful.
Now, I hate to break it to you, but there's no such thing as a baby carrot. The cute little carrots they sell at supermarkets are actually regular carrots that have been shaved down to this baby size. You would think strawberry-flavored gummy bears should be red or pink, right? Well, sorry to say, but they're green. Brown rice and white rice are the same product. The white variety starts off as the brown one, but then some parts of it are removed by milling, which gives the rice its white color. This allows it to be stored for longer, but at the same time reduces the rice's nutritional value. Now, on the topic of rice, it was used to build the Great Wall of China. The builders mixed sticky rice soup with lime and got rice mortar for construction. It was stronger and had better water resistance than regular lime mortar. Thanks to the rice soup, the Great Wall has been able to stand for centuries despite the elements. You found a long-forgotten chocolate bar somewhere deep in your desk. Yum, nice surprise. But when you open it, you hesitate. There's some unpleasant-looking kind of dusty film on it. Don't worry though, it's still safe to eat. It's just that the fat or cocoa butter used to make the chocolate has been separated from the rest of the bar because of the heat. As it cooled back down, it created this whitish film. The taste might be a little off, however, so it may be best to use it for cooking instead. And you'd have more self-control than I do. Avocados can't ripen while on the tree. If not picked, they will simply fall from the branch while still not ripe. When picked, though, they will become soft and flavorful just like we love them. This happens because of the burst of ethylene produced by the fruit itself after picking. It's inhibited while the avocado is still on the tree. Tomatoes bought at supermarkets often have a weak flavor. It has to do with how they're grown and stored afterwards. Tomatoes are gathered when not fully ripe yet, and they ripen in the transportation containers and on the store shelves. But if they're stored at temperatures below 40 degrees Fahrenheit while not fully ripe, they lose a lot of their flavor. So, to keep them tasty, it's best to store tomatoes outside the fridge. Honey is probably the only food that can literally never go bad. If it's properly sealed with no air left in, it can go for millennia and still be edible. The oldest pot of honey ever found was 5,500 years old, next to the mummy of Winnie the Pooh. Nah, not really. While dark and milk chocolate raise no questions, their white sibling isn't chocolate at all. It doesn't contain any cocoa powder, which makes chocolate, well, chocolate. The white variety is made of cocoa butter mixed with sugar and flavoring, usually vanilla. Peanuts are closer relatives to peas than to nuts. They're legumes, the type of plants that includes peas, chickpeas, and beans. Cashew nuts aren't nuts either. They're seeds that are collected from pretty large fruits. The same can be said about walnuts, almonds, pecans, and pistachios. When you buy some sushi rolls with crab meat, what you get is no crab at all. The red and white stuff is what is called imitation crab, and it's basically paste made of fish. Its other name is surimi. By the way, sushi was originally a way to preserve fish. It was stored in fermented rice, which could keep fish fresh for up to a year. And after that, the rice was thrown away while the fish was cooked and eaten. If you get all tearful while cutting onions, there are several ways to avoid that. One is put the onion in the freezer before cutting it. That will freeze the molecules of the chemical that makes you cry. Another method is washing the onion in cool water just before cutting it. The cold and moisture left on the onion will not allow the tearful chemical to get in your eyes. And the third way is to put a wet paper towel next to your cutting board. The chemical gets attracted to the nearest water source, which is usually your eyes, but in this case, it'll be the towel. Now, the vast majority of wasabi we eat isn't actual wasabi. The real thing is very expensive. So what we get is just a mixture of horseradish, mustard, and green food coloring. Be careful when you eat fresh pineapple because it can literally eat you back. It contains an enzyme that digests protein. That burning sensation you get when you've eaten a bit too much pineapple, that's it. Mac and cheese used to be a really fancy dish back in the 18th century US. Pasta could only be imported from Italy, which made it expensive, and the process of making cheese was time and effort consuming. It didn't make the product cheaper either. Only the wealthiest could afford a plate of mac and cheese, and it was served in the fanciest restaurants as a delicacy. Oysters, lobsters, and pretty much any other seafood, on the other hand, were considered food for the poor back in the day. Seaside communities fed themselves with what they could catch in the sea, and that included mussels, crabs, and a lot of other stuff we consider delicacies today. Wow, I think if I ate mac and cheese with lobster right now, my head would explode. Back to rich food. In medieval times, fish was considered a gift fit for a king. English monarchs were known to be presented with huge pikes, and even before that, in the Roman Empire, fish such as red mullet was a delicacy that emperors paid for with large amounts of gold. Farmed salmon fresh is naturally gray. Wild fish eat a lot of shrimp, which makes their meat that trademark pink-orange color. The farm kind is fed with a special plant pigment for the same effect. The inventor of petroleum jelly, Sir Robert Cheesebrough, claimed to eat a spoonful of Vaseline every single day. He also asked his nurse to cover him head to toe in the stuff when he fell seriously ill. He soon recovered and lived to be 96 years of age. All the while, he firmly believed in petroleum jelly's miraculous properties. It was a slick product. Oranges actually gave their name to the color we now know as orange. In Old English, this color was called roughly yellow-red. Only when the fruit became widespread across Europe, the word that signified their color appeared. If you want to take a closer look at a beehive, make sure you don't have any bananas on you. The pheromone that alarms bees to rise and protect their home smells like bananas, so you're likely to become their enemy number one if you get too close. Milk was once proved as a material for plastic. It was biodegradable and non-soluble in water and virtually didn't burn. But it was later outperformed by oil-based plastic because the milk-based variety couldn't be molded and became brittle over time. Also, the oil-based kind was a lot cheaper in production. Pound cake got its name for the mass of its ingredients. It was originally made from a pound of butter, a pound of eggs, and, you guessed it, a pound of sugar. So it should be 3-pound cake. The most expensive pizza you can ever get costs around $12,000. It can only be cooked by 3 chefs in your home, and it takes 3 full days to make. Do the chefs have to stay in your home? In ancient Egypt, laborers were paid with food. They got radishes, onions, and garlic as part of their wages. These plants were known for their antibacterial properties even then, which made them pretty valuable. Although the most widespread color of cauliflower is white, it also comes in green, orange, and purple varieties. They're more difficult to cultivate than the white one, but aren't much different from it otherwise. As for the overall number of varieties of cauliflower, there are several hundreds of them. To easily test the freshness of eggs, put them in a bowl of water. A fresh egg will quickly go down to the bottom, while a rotten one will float. Hey, last one to the bottom is a rotten egg. That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.
Most people are sure that humans only have 5 senses, but that's not entirely true. Taste, touch, smell, sight, and hearing aren't the only ones we have. Scientists claim that people have between 9 and 20 senses in total. These include thermoception, the sense of warmth, equilibrioception, the sense of balance. There's also the sense of time, although not everyone seems to have that last one. We used to think that there were just 8 different blood types, but in reality, there are over 30 known blood group systems. Here on the bright side, our favorite blood group is B positive. Get it? For every pound of fat you gain, you generate 1 mile of new blood vessels to supply oxygen and nutrients to your body. Your stomach produces a new lining every 6 days to avoid digesting itself. Nerve cells transmit 1,000 nerve impulses a second. They travel between 1 and 268 miles per hour. Our DNA contains 100,000 viruses. Scientists have discovered one that goes back 100 million years. Your body emits visible light. You're the brightest at 4 p.m., and your glow is the least visible at 10 a.m. Unfortunately, this glowing is 1,000 times less intense than what your eyes can see. Sweat is mostly water mixed with proteins, sugars, ammonia, and a lot of other stuff. It even contains tiny amounts of trace metals like copper, zinc, nickel, iron, and so on. What makes sweat taste salty is the sodium it contains. Plus, the more salt you eat, the saltier your sweat is. Your body's trying to get rid of the excess, and the fastest way is to sweat it out. If you walked 2 miles per hour, you'd have to walk for 20 hours straight to lose 1 pound. And it would take you 518 days and 8 hours to circle the equator. Earwax isn't actually wax. It contains fat, skin cells, sweat, and dirt. Your brain gets 3 times bigger over the first year of life and reaches its full maturity when you're 25. 60% of it is fat. Your brain generates around 23 watts of electrical power, which is enough to run a small light bulb. Humans can't really multitask. Your brain can't perform more than 1 action at the same time. It switches between them, which doesn't save time as you might think, but increases the possibility you'll do something wrong and makes the process longer. When you have an exam to take, or you're at work trying to focus on an important task, try chewing gum. Research showed it can help you stay concentrated for longer on tasks that require your full attention. Studies even say that it's a better test aid than caffeine. There's nothing special in the gum, but the act of chewing wakes your brain up. The effect doesn't last long though, just for 20 minutes. Embryos develop fingerprints at 3 months. Your bones are 4 times harder than concrete. The strongest bone in your body is the femur. It can support up to 30 times the weight of a grown-up person. Even crazier is that our bones are made up of composite material, meaning they're both hard and elastic at the same time. Sunburn is the result of radiation exposure. When your body's natural defense mechanism gets overwhelmed trying to fight UV rays, a toxic reaction occurs that results in sunburn. Goosebumps are an evolutionary reflex left over from our ancestors. The release of adrenaline made their hair stand up, and they look scarier to approaching predators. Your body produces 1 to 3 pints of saliva every day. It helps you digest food and fights off infections. You also have a lot of bacteria in your mouth. Yeah, that's right. The average amount of bacteria in a person's mouth is almost the same as the number of people living on Earth. That's hard to digest. Each human has roughly 150,000 hairs on their head. Every strand grows around 1/2 inch per month. If we added the growth from each hair, it would measure the distance of 10 miles in just 1 year. Your hair is also a lot stronger than you think. A single strand can hold 3 ounces, which is the weight of an apple. If we combined the strength of all the hair on your head, it could support the weight of 2 elephants. Hey, let's try it. The beating sound your heart makes is the clap of valve leaflets opening and closing. Your heart doesn't replicate its cells unless you have an injury. Your corneas are the only part of your body that don't get blood. They get oxygen directly through the air. When you're sitting or standing upright, it's easier for you to recall some positive memories that make you feel good. Some believe it's because sitting up with your back flat boosts blood flow and your brain gets more oxygen, which helps it function better. The man who has the deepest voice in the world, and that's definitely not me, can produce sounds that humans, including him, can't hear at all. But elephants can hear those sounds. Veins look blue because light has to go through layers of skin and fat to reach them. Your skin scatters a lot of the red portion of white light before it reflects the blood. This leaves only the blue light to bounce back to your eyes. A person who has anosmia is unable to detect smells. Phantosmia is the opposite condition, when someone smells an odor that isn't actually there. The human brain has 100 billion neurons. It's 73% water, and the same is true about the heart. That's why if your brain loses even 2% of its liquid, you start to feel tired. It also makes your memory worse, shortens your attention span, and puts a dampener on your mood. The earliest known person to have had blue eyes lived in the Stone Age, 7,000 years ago. Your right kidney is probably smaller and sits lower down than your left kidney to make room for your liver. By the way, your brain makes sure you don't drink too little or too much water. After you swallow some liquid, your mouth and throat start to fire signals to your brain, telling it to stop drinking. Otherwise, you'd keep gulping down water for the entire 10 to 60 minutes it takes the liquid to get to your cells. Your eyes can see something for a mere 13 milliseconds, and your brain will already process this image. The average blink lasts from 100 to 400 milliseconds. Even though the tongue isn't the strongest muscle in your body, it never gets tired. That's because of the way it's built. It's made up of 8 interwoven muscles. The tongue is the only muscle with ends not connected to bone. Other muscles join 2 bones at both ends because that's how we pull and make a motion. There are around 700 different species of bacteria in your mouth. Over 6 billion of them live there. Your skin is your largest organ. It can cover the surface area of 2 bath towels. It accounts for around 16% of body weight and is around 22 square feet. If you typed 60 words per minute for 8 hours a day, it would take you 50 years to type the human genome. You get tired pretty quickly when you're out in the heat. This happens because your body is trying really hard to keep itself cool, which puts a lot of extra work on it. So you get exhausted and tired, even if you don't do anything physically demanding. Your body has 78 organs, but only 5 of them are essential for survival: the brain, liver, kidney, lungs, and heart. Oh, the phone's ringing. Must be something urgent. At 11 p.m. Only all the gadgets in the house are silent. It's your ears that are ringing. You can also hear some hissing, whistling, buzzing, and even roaring. But all this noise doesn't have an external source. That's why it's known as phantom sounds. They can occur in one or both ears, constantly or from time to time. They're usually most noticeable at night, when nothing distracts you. Women have more taste buds on the surface of their tongues than men do. That's one of the reasons why 35% of ladies and only 15% of guys are super tasters. Those are people who feel flavors more strongly than others. Left-handed people usually prefer to chew on the left side, and right-handed people, well, you guessed it, chew on the right. Even if your fingerprints are damaged, they'll grow back in the same unique pattern. When breathing, a single lung only uses 5% of the oxygen you've inhaled.
Why is the myth dogs are colorblind so widely accepted?
They do see colors, even though they have a more limited spectrum than we do. They see blue, yellow, and violet pretty well, but it's hard for them to tell the difference between orange, red, and green. So, if you want to redecorate your dog's house, maybe you should stick to purple and blue shades. Animals, plants, and humans, we're all actually connected and have common traits because we've all evolved from the same micro-ancestor. This would be our planet's original ancestor, LUCA. This stands for the last universal common ancestor, which is a 3.8 billion-year-old organism. Closing the eyes can improve your memory. Let's say you want to listen to a story and see how much you can remember. Studies show that if you close your eyes and take a 15-minute rest, you'll remember it better. A good technique for when you're studying or trying to remember some boring information. The pink corner of your eye is actually the remnant of the third eyelid. We all have this mysterious membrane. The third eyelid is way more prominent in certain mammals and birds since it protects their eyes from dust. But for humans, this tissue doesn't have any particular meaning, so scientists believe we'll eventually lose it. When potatoes are exposed to too much light, they mostly turn green, whether they're in a factory, storage, or a field. This happens because they start to form chlorophyll, a pigment that gives plants green color. So when you see green potato chips, it means they were made from one of these potatoes that were exposed to light for a longer time. But just because some green potato chips made it into the bag doesn't mean you should eat them. As it turns out, the green areas on potatoes and on chips are not good for you. Nothing's going to happen if you eat one or two of these green potato chips. But if you eat too much of a green potato, you might experience some discomfort. Despite their name, some oranges are not orange. Some initially contain large amounts of chlorophyll, which makes this citrus green-colored in the first place. As it matures and ripens, the chlorophyll slowly disappears as the fruit is exposed to cool temperatures. That's when it gets its color. But this is also why in warm areas across the world, oranges remain green. If you've ordered something small from Amazon, like a pen, a single book, or something else, you might have got it in a box that seemed way too big for your item. And it's not an accident, nor random. It's because of their complex shipping algorithm. It takes into account the size of other packages going to the same place, as well as the size of the shipping vehicle. The small item gets a box size that will fit the space inside the vehicle together with other packages, and keep boxes from sliding around. Physicist and inventor Percy Spencer discovered microwaves by accident. He was building a magnetron for some of his radar equipment. At one moment, he realized the chocolate bar he had been keeping in his pocket had begun to melt. He was curious about what was going to happen next, so he directed microwaves at eggs, which exploded, and popcorn, which popped. This is how he discovered a great tool to heat food that uses less energy than a conventional oven. In its original version, the clay-like substance we call Play-Doh today was a wallpaper cleaner. It was invented and sold for the purpose of lifting soot off of wallpaper. At the time it first showed on the market, you could only get it in an off-white color, but later they started selling it as a toy. The substance was produced in yellow, blue, and red. Today, you can get it in more than 50 colors. Bubble wrap had a somewhat different purpose at its beginning. It was supposed to be wallpaper. In the 1950s, when it first showed up, two engineers decided to glue two shower curtains together. That's how they trapped small bubbles of air between them. They were trying to create some sort of textured wallpaper, but it didn't take off. A couple years later, IBM had to ship some data processors and needed something to protect them, which is when the phenomenon of bubble wrap came up. One study showed that 1 minute of popping bubble wrap is as calming as a 30-minute massage. Why don't electric fans cool the air? You could set a thermometer in front of it and choose a turbo mode, but the temperature won't go down. In fact, the temperature might even go up if you leave the thermometer next to the working parts thanks to the electric current. A fan won't cool the air, but it will cool you or any other object with water inside. An electric fan improves air circulation in a closed space. Plus, it speeds up evaporation, which makes liquids, including the sweat on your skin, a bit cooler. Have you noticed pen caps have tiny holes on the top? It seems random at first, but it's actually a lifesaver. If you can accidentally swallow this cap, the hole ensures you can continue breathing because the cap won't completely block the airway. If you take a closer look at the night sky, you'll see stars come in different shapes and sizes. White is the most prevalent color, true, but they sparkle in shades of red, blue, and yellow too. But you won't see a green star. It's not that stars don't emit green light, it's just that our eyes don't see it like that. Stars vary in colors when they burn at different temperatures. The hottest stars appear blue, while the coolest stars seem to burn in red hues, but they all shine in multiple colors. They emit different light wavelengths that represent various parts of the color spectrum. We can't all perceive those wavelengths separately. We only see the dominant light wavelength, which means the dominant color. So, stars of medium heat emit green photons in most cases, but they just don't appear green. When we try to process something that generates red, green, blue, and yellow photons at once, our eyes see it as white. That's the same reason why mid-temperature stars such as our sun appear white to us. Why do we blink? To moisten and cleanse the eye, that's for sure. Every time you close your eyelids, the tear glands secrete a salty substance that sweeps over the surface of your eye. It then flushes away all those tiny dust particles and also lubricates the exposed parts of your eyeball. We usually blink every 4 to 6 seconds unless the eyes are more irritated. Then, we blink more frequently to keep them moist and clean. But not just that. Blinking also helps our brain to reset. It has to process so many things all the time, so it's fair to give it a break from time to time. So blinking rescues our brain around 15 to 20 times per minute. When we shut our eyes, we help our brain to power down and take a very short but still effective mental break. That's why we blink more when we're in the middle of a task that demands some serious mental activity. Why do we have nails? They're generally made of a specific type of protein you can find in fur, hair, claws, and hooves. It's called keratin, and unlike claws, nails are flat and wide, so they're more effective at shielding the tips of toes and fingers from potential injuries. Fingernails not only protect sensitive areas but also provide a rigid backing so you can take and separate small objects more easily. How would you pick up a single jigsaw piece or peel a sticker from its backing without nails? It would be almost impossible without additional tools. Apes and monkeys use their feet for such delicate tasks too. Primates have probably evolved nails because they needed help with simple tasks, such as grasping branches tightly and removing ticks. Raspberries, blackberries, strawberries, and cherries are not berries. To classify a berry, they have to have 3 layers: a protective outer one, a fleshy one in the middle, and finally, an inner part where you can find the seeds. Also, a plant must come from a flower with just 1 ovary and have 2 or more seeds. So, by this criteria, cranberries and blueberries are berries. Together with some more plants you wouldn't expect to be in this category: kiwis, bananas, watermelons, tomatoes, eggplants, and even peppers. You've probably heard your ears and nose are those body parts that never stop growing. This happens because the effects of skin changes and gravity. Other parts of your body change in the same ways, but you can't see it as well as you can see what's happening with your nose and ears. The giant shark that terrorized the oceans some 20 million years ago. For 13 million years, this 60-ton beast dominated the warm waters of our planet. Though, some believe that the Meg still lives in the most remote and deepest parts of the ocean. It's a hot summer day. It seems only logical to go for a swim in the sea. You're floating on your back, completely relaxed. Your eyes are closed. Your breath is even. Water's pleasantly cool around your body. A light breeze touches your face. You feel calm enough to doze off. Suddenly, something bumps into your leg. Yanked out of your half-slumber, you begin to flail until you're face to face with the invisible danger. Luckily, all you spot is a couple of easily recognizable fins and cute smiley snouts. Phew, just dolphins. Guess you're lucky to meet them in the wild. These amazing creatures are so close, you can touch them. You've heard people say dolphins' skin feels rubbery, but to your mind, it's more like the inner part of a hard-boiled egg.
One of the animals is so close to you that its salty smell fills your nostrils. You know, though, that dolphins don't have sweat glands. It means they don't sweat and are pretty much odorless. The smell you sense comes from the water they swim in. The largest and most ferocious predator to ever haunt the oceans, the megalodon shark dominated the seas for centuries before coming extinct millions of years ago. However, scientists managed to discover very few remnants of the giant shark. Everything we know about the great beast we've learned thanks to fossils of its giant teeth, which are just about the size of the average human hand. A megalodon skeleton has never been discovered. Shark skeletons are made mostly of cartilage, meaning that they decompose quickly. Luckily, sharks continuously shed and regrow teeth throughout their lives. One shark can go through 40,000 teeth in a single lifetime. Scientists have managed to study different types of shark species based on their teeth alone. The megalodon shark had around 276 teeth. When they fell out, those teeth landed in the seabed where they stayed for millions of years, fossilizing. Scientists found those teeth, and they're the only real record we have of the megalodon's existence. Megalodon teeth have been discovered all over the world. It means that unlike other marine animals of its time, the megalodon was intercontinental. Even today, most sharks and marine animals tend to stick to one sea or ocean. The megalodon shark swam freely around the world, moving between tropical and subtropical waters. Megalodon teeth have been found in every continent apart from the freezing cold waters of Antarctica. When a megalodon makes a starring appearance in a movie or TV show, it's portrayed to look like a giant version of a great white shark. Scientists previously believed that the megalodon and the great white shark both descended from one common ancestor. Still, it's not true. In fact, it's more likely that the megalodon was the arch enemy of the great white shark's ancestor, the broad-toothed mako shark. That means Megalodon wouldn't have looked so similar to the great white after all. In reality, the Megalodon would have a shorter nose than the great white, along with longer pectoral fins to give the giant shark a stockier and more threatening build. They both had an excellent sense of smell though, so even in prehistoric times, it wasn't a good idea to go swimming with a chunk of raw meat in hand. And it certainly isn't safe now. Whether the Meg's hiding somewhere in the depths, which some still believe is true, or it's gone forever, younger cousins will still be there waiting. Also, both of them like to go after big marine mammals, so they would certainly have things to do together. That is, until the Meg got moody and accidentally ate its friend. You never know. These guys had a different hunting style. Great whites prefer to dive straight towards their prey and find its softest spot, like exposed legs or underbelly. Sometimes, an entire tooth would be found embedded in a bone of some bigger animal, such as a whale. Without the main parts they use for swimming, poor sea animals were then helpless and unable to escape. Yet whales were just a smaller part of Megalodon's diet. Seals, sea cows, squids, dolphins, other sharks. The good old Meg probably wouldn't say no to some random school of smaller fish swimming into its mouth either. Nothing better than a good snack after a big tasty dinner. Even those giant turtles weren't safe with their thick shells. The Meg probably took them as a dare challenge on a daily basis. Scientists have used computer simulations to try and work out the hunting style of the ancient shark. Using this technology, scientists have discovered that the Megalodon's attack style was very different from that of modern-day sharks. Modern sharks dive straight for their prey's most vulnerable spot, for example, the soft underbelly of a seal. The Megalodon's teeth were uniquely suited to biting through tougher areas of cartilage. So, evidence suggests that a Megalodon would first chew the tougher fins of their prey, rendering them unable to swim away before launching into their final attack. Some people believe that the Megalodon is still alive today, lurking at the depths of the ocean's waters. But it's unlikely to be true. Megalodons are a warm water species, which means they would be unable to survive in the cold waters of the deep ocean. Most of the Megalodon's potential prey live in shallower waters, meaning there would be very little for the Megalodon to eat at deep sea level. Simply put, if there was an animal as big as the Megalodon still living today, we would have spotted it by now. It is unlikely that you'll run into a Meg though. The sharks, like us, preferred warm coastal waters. Deep ocean living would be too cold for the beasts, and food would be scarce. Their entire bodies would also have to evolve to avoid being squished by the enormous water pressure down there. It's unlikely they're still around, but not impossible. Some good news if you do run into one is that the shark is pretty unlikely to eat you. You are way too small a meal for the megalodon, even if you have a couple of friends with you. This guy eats whales that are over 50 feet long. If you're having a beach party though, it's a different story. In a beach full of swimmers, the shark very well might creep up, scooping several humans into its giant mouth without even chewing. The fearsome name Megalodon comes from two Greek words, megas, meaning big, and odont, meaning tooth. Combined, they mean big tooth, and it certainly lives up to its name. Just one of its chompers is the same size as a human head. It had 276 humongous teeth in total, across 5 terrifying rows. In all of history, only a couple of saber-toothed cats and the T-Rex had consistently bigger teeth. Now that's a showdown I'd like to watch. The Megalodon vanished millions of years ago, leaving only huge teeth to be found by modern archaeologists. They literally disappeared with very few traces left. Scientists believe that over time, deep sea levels dropped and the ocean's temperature went down rapidly. Over a third of all marine life was wiped out as the oceans cooled and the number of animals at the bottom of the food chain plummeted. This had a catastrophic effect on the hungry predators at the top. Sorry guys. It became way too cold for these sun-loving sharks too, which made it difficult for them to reproduce since they gave birth in warm waters. The Megalodon is usually described as a sort of great white shark, but this is just a common myth. In fact, the ancestors of today's great white existed at the same time as the Meg, but they weren't best buddies and were even in competition with each other. The great white shark was a better hunter using its smaller size and agility to snap up the Meg's prey quickly. They were also known to eat Meg pups, who were only half their size. This didn't exactly help the whole extinction thing. While a great white was no match for an adult Meg in a head-to-head fight, they sure weren't scared of stealing their food. This only left the bigger fish and whales for the Meg, but its food supplies began to run out as whales swam to the cooler new seas. The whales adapted to prefer the colder temperatures, leaving our friend the Meg behind. The Megalodons either starved or were frozen into extinction by the Ice Age. Rather than a great white, the Megalodon is more like a modern bull shark.